Can I just ask, why wasn't Gary Peters given the job, and why did you bring in Richard O'Kelly?
Well, I think in that time period, Gary Peters on social media was absolutely castigated. You know, it was all hoofball this, and Peters must be directing it, and who's running it, who's not. You know, he stayed on until it was obvious that I had to chat to him and say, look, we need to settle you out here, and off you go. And initially, I couldn't get it through before Christmas, and then by the time the February Gillingham result came through, and a week or so later, we're asking, you know, for availability and what have you. The feeling was that Gary wasn't the right person for us by that time, through all the negativity around the chap.
Do you think you should have maybe been a bit stronger in that situation and not listened to social media?
I don't know whether it was just social media, to be perfectly honest. I mean, you know, when you sit back on it for 6 years, and the one thing we can't undo in life is sort of the things that happen. We can all have regrets and see your mistakes with hindsight, but the one thing I wish, really, as it turned out, is that, you know, in a boardroom of 3 people where you're the only one that's putting any money into the football club, I think I was a bit foolish compared to previous business life to actually give people an equal vote. You know, so that's one thing that I do look back on, and I probably should have pushed it through.
So, say with the board of directors, you'd put the money in, and other board members hadn't put anything in.
Initially, Tim didn't put any money into the football club, and Grenville was on the board. We inherited Grenville, if you like, and he wasn't putting money into the board. So no, there was no investment initially other than myself. And then Dave Preedy and Nick Meledich came on board, and we had more lines of investment. I suspect Nick probably put £200,000 plus in, and Dave and Caroline Preedy either money or equipment and such like. You know, I think when we did the social club and whatever, they were tremendous, and not least time. You know, they put a hell of a lot of time into it, but financially, I did during that second season. It was clearly, looking back, clearly in my mind that I'm putting the money up. I don't want to be talked around on things, but the season, you know, went by, and we probably, I think, because of that reason, either the boardroom not at one, and/or management structure not at one, you could say we got what we deserved, and we got relegated.
Richard O'Kelly was the manager when we went down. Did you have a good relationship with him?
Yeah. Nice chap. You know, I don't think anybody would fail to have a good relationship with Richard O'Kelly. He's doing really well now, obviously, up in the back room villa. Met him in London once at a function, and I didn't remember, but he reminded me that my wife had knitted him a sock in the club colours or something. So yeah, really nice chap, and clearly a coach who gets the best out of players. You know, plays positively, and you could see it out of the same set of players. You could see them improving. I remember going down to Crawley Town. We were almost dead and buried, the second from last game, and they were fourth, I think, from memory, third or fourth, and we ran them ragged. It was just gelling. You know, he just got it. And like you see in the horse racing, if they could run another 50 yards, the other one would get his head in front. But we made the changes too late that season, in my view.
We're relegated. We're into the conference. There must be some regret with some of the contracts that were given out to players who, as I understand, were on the same Football League money when we went into non-league.
Well, no, that's always been a bit of nonsense or a bit of a misnomer from social media, Matt. Football League player contracts are standard forms, and you fill in the numbers, but there will be a paragraph for increased wages on promotion, X%, decreased wages on relegation X percent. But there is a caveat where the player can opt not to sign that bit, i.e. he forgoes an increase in wages on promotion, but he hangs on to his money on relegation. And so every player bar two lost 20% of their wages when we got down in the conference. But I've read, like everybody else, on social media, that Keyte screwed up the contracts and so on. They're all on silly money, and that wasn't the case. Anybody that knew Harry Pell, and we had to ask him to say, not the sort of question you ask, but he was on £800 a week in League Two, and he went down to 640 in the conference, and everybody else accordingly. So, but the thing that did catch us is that we had, with hindsight, probably too many committed to that next year, which was something that I was working through with Gary Peters. Let's cover off the worst case scenario and maintain a squad that we believe can get us back up straight away. And we had about 10 carried forward for another year. Their wages went down for the reason I just said. But of course we made it, Richard O'Kelly decided not to stay on with us. So we had to recruit another manager. And that was Martin Foyle, first year in the conference. And of course, what happens in football, managers have their players that they try to attract to their club, and players perhaps they don't like. And so Martin set off in his own way to get a squad together, and a lot of those faces didn't fit in with the new manager. That was the expense to it, in my view, looking back.
Gary Peters was still around then. Wouldn't it have been an easier option to give him the job, or was he not interested?
Again, from memory, I think it was just that he was almost written off through the image, if you like, that was around the football club of him. It's unfair, but he was still with it, and he was still prepared to stay in the same role for the new manager, Martin Foyle. In turn, Martin said he could work with Gary, so he stayed in the role that he'd come to the club to perform.
And how did you get on with Martin Foyle?
Again, very well. I can remember we sat in my back garden talking about players, at the start, and a very nice chap, nice family. He set off to bring in the players we could find, and I think he did that quite successfully. We picked up Marley Watkins from Bath for nothing, Ryan Bowman, Sam Clucas was already with us. Sam Clucas we picked up when Glenn Hoddle brought his Spanish academy for a friendly at Edgar Street, and Gary Peters took a liking to Clucas. Very athletic and gets up and down the pitch, all these phrases, and so Clucas was already with us. But so when you look across the football line now, we've had, and I know in Graham Turner's time over the years, we've had the players in and out of the football club to get better results, you might think, year in year than we seem to do. But so we had a decent squad, and we had what you get when you drop out of the Football League, and this is significant really, financially, and I know it's moved on again, but at that time we were getting $725,000 a year through being a League Two club. Premiership television money, Football League fund, etc. Everybody in the League Two got $725,000, $60,000 a month basically before you play a match, before you open the turnstiles. And when you drop into the conference that year, we moved down to $47,000, $4,000 a month. The exception for 1 year, we got a parachute payment of $215,000. So the pressure's on to make use of that compared to other clubs in that conference league and get yourself back up, which I books show is very difficult to do. Now, I remember when Cheltenham Town got relegated, that had moved on to 450,000 for 1 year, and they got back up. And now it's moved on to 400 whatever figure for 2 seasons. So it's likely that you would see in the conference now something of a revolving door, where most league clubs should be able to get themselves back in order to be pushing for promotion whilst having that parachute money. But for us, it was quite a drop. And I think from memory, we had about a player budget of about 650,000, which was competitive, not the highest. When you think of places like Forest Green, they were, supposedly around the 1.4 million. And we came in a little bit of a mid-division, really. We were threatening playoff place, but we came in really a bit of a distant 6th in the end, where we couldn't do it with about a month to go, so that was disappointing. And then, so you lose your 215,000 the next season, and so I know Martin is on record as saying we kept moving the budget. And to be honest, that summer we, and I in particular, had started to think, well, I'm not going to keep doing this just to be abused on social media. And it was a general feeling across the boardroom. I think we'd been summer of 2013. So we put a budget together that actually assumed that we would lose £300,000 in the year ahead unless we had a cup run or big transfer or something. And the player budget was reduced to about 400 from memory, 400 or 450. And obviously Martin had to rip up a few of the pieces of paper he got with names on and get a squad together at that lower budget. But we felt it was sufficient to consolidate in the conference. And I think I would be happy to go on record as saying I don't think the performances were as good as they could have been even on that budget. And I think perhaps Martin lost his way a bit 2/3 of the way through the season. And you see all the time in football this. When it's going well, the managers and the players are praised. When it's not, it's usually we haven't had a decent budget, or it's pushed upstairs when it's not going well. And maybe the new setup will be reaching a level now where they're going to see a bit more of that. But I guess that's football. But.
And the crowds dropped off quite significantly in the conference as well, looking back at the attendances.
Well, they do, don't they? You'd expect them to. I've got to say that the Hereford crowd is an odd one to gauge in terms of numerically. You can have a great result and there's less people watching it the following week, or you can have, something happen the other way and you get a bigger crowd. So you can't tell to the last few hundred, but financially there was a sort of a unwritten formula, I would say, around the conference that you needed crowds of 2,000. You probably needed a cup run to the first, ideally second round of the FA Cup, and if you could sell a player somewhere along the way, you might break even. And that's probably, it was forever less, maybe going back in Graham's time, he knew that, if you had a bad season, the pressure is on financially. If you can sell a player or two, you can live another day. It's that's where Hereford sits in the football world, I'm afraid. In my view, there's somewhere between the conference and League Two, Hereford United. And the new lot are making their way, and maybe they're just reaching that point now where to run it sustainably, or whatever their phrase is, will get you to a certain point, and then the people who put some money in, or the manager who gets a squad that just gels from nowhere. Think across to the two brothers that were at Lincoln City. Very similar club to Hereford, in my view. And they something happened right for them, and they went off on a great cup run and got out of the conference and up again. And I think they've moved on now to Huddersfield. But it happens. Sometimes it just gels and it happens. Other times it's lots of money that gets you up there. There's no, as we experienced, we put more money into playing budgets in the first couple of seasons and got probably less return than we'd hoped. Whereas Graham Turner being one of the better lower league managers there's ever been, I would say, got more out of a lesser budget, and there's no divine right, but some people, I think Mourinho is a better manager than Solskjaer, but he lost his job at Manchester United. There's other ingredients in it. There's a player's dressing room, not least, and they can move the manager out if they get together and so wish. So there's a lot of things that make up the results at 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon in football clubs up and down the country, I'm sure.
We've mentioned Graham Turner a few times. Did you ever go to him for any advice?
No, not really. He was very helpful in that early discussions. I mentioned the Simon Davey in the envelope. He actually offered, I can recall, we had a tribunal for Mark Pugh that summer. He'd gone to Bournemouth and waiting on a settlement, and Graham offered to come down to London and come to the hearing with me. He didn't, I didn't take him up on it, but went down there and actually met Simon Davey down there, who joined us by then. I remember Simon was on holiday on the south coast with his family, and we'd met him at the FA place in London and had a coffee, and I noticed he got his suit on all right, but he hadn't got any socks. So we walked round to a shop and bought him a pair of socks before we went into the meeting. But Graham, I'd have to say, the further it went on, the more you'd have to have admiration for the chap. What he did at Hereford was quite incredible. I think he probably had spells where, because it got worse before it got better, of course. He put his hand up in, was it 1995, 1996, to keep the club going. By about 2002, the club was 1.6 million in debt. And then, a bit later on, it drops back to 1.6 million in debt. And it's only the correlation between the football pitch and the finances of the club are clear. He got a team together with Richard O'Kelly helping, and they got promoted from the Walker Stadium back into the Football League, back into the money pot, and then another promotion. So the finances of the club turned back the other way. Graham was football through and through. He obviously had a good understanding, and we spoke about the leases of the ground, which the club didn't hold, and the Richardson Capital developers had the leases. And that was probably one of the early thoughts that I had as a supporter from the outside looking in. When you walk past the old social club that I'd been in before as a youngster, which was now full of pigeon muck when you open the door. It was the off-field things that I felt that I could improve upon. And the football, you hope, fingers crossed, it looks after itself. But in truth, we never replaced Graham Turner as a football manager. And that can drive your finances. Relegation from the Football League is enormous. I think it's probably, in many ways, on a par with relegation from the Premiership. because you're in the graveyard in the conference if you've come down. So yeah, I have huge respect for Graham Turner as a football manager.